Hello friends, welcome back. Let us continue with the discussion pertaining to the topic communication. In the previous discussion, I have talked about the process of communication and verbal communication in form of phonetics, semantics and denotative and connotations. Today, I am going to further discussion on another form of communication, that is non-verbal communication. It is more accurate and precise in comparison to verbal communication. Although it has no structure, no vocabulary, but still it is very reliable and spontaneous, because the response, which is non-verbal in nature, is absolutely unfiltered, it is straightforward, and to certain extent it is impulsive also. So, how to define non-verbal communication? So, it is a non-verbal human response which includes gestures, that is your body movements, your facial expressions or eye movements or oculesics, and the perceived characteristics of the environment through which the non-verbal messages are transmitted. So, whatever is the situation, the characteristics of the situation or the environment, and how the person tend to respond to that situation in a non-verbal manner, maybe through his facial expressions, body movements, gestures or eye movements, this sends or transmits a message to the other person in a very precise and reliable manner. No doubt that non-verbal communication has no structure, it has no vocabulary, but still it is considered to be more spontaneous and reliable. But how to understand non-verbal communication? Just simplifying that eye movements, body movements, gestures or facial expressions is enough to understand the message that has been transmitted to the other person in a non-verbal manner. There are different ways where we can understand this non-verbal communication. So, it comes to mean in different forms. For example, the first is paralanguage. It has no words, it has no vocabulary, but still it has some voice, its continuous voice with some intensity and some disturbances, and how we tend to understand that what the other person is feeling in a particular situation. For example, a person will experience speech disturbances when he experiences anxiety or some fear in the situation, and he will start hesitating or he will start stammering or stuttering as well. So, this is about paralanguage, where the voice intensity is being measured in a very non-verbal manner, that the person is fearful or full of anxiety. It can be hesitation, where the person is speaking, but he is finding difficulty in getting or recalling the correct word to transmit the message. So, there the person is inhibitant, and at the same time he is hesitating also to use the correct word or find the correct word in order to transmit the messages. Or silences, if the other person is responding or maybe is communicating, interacting with the person is silent. So, maybe that silence will have different kind of messages that can be conveyed to the person to whom he is talking. So, silence can be in term of that I am not interested, or it can be that it is not required to speak so much. So, this is about silences. Or laughing, yawning or non-fluences. So, laughing, it has only voice, there is no word. So, it can be either mockery, or it can be any jovial gesture that we are laughing and we are happy. It can be yawning, that two people are interacting with each other and maybe the one person is not interested in talking to him or her. So, maybe he will start yawning. Or non-fluences, for example, oh. So, these are not the words, they are just the sounds, they are voices that a person produces when he or she is interacting with the other person, and that transmits a message that he is surprised, he is elated. So, this is paralanguage, another form of non-verbal communication. So, this only constitutes intensity with no speech, with no word, but different kind of intonations are there. Therefore, we can say that paralanguage is more than the way something is said than precise words used. So, even paralanguage will transmit a very strong message to the other person in comparison to the words that we use to transmit the same message to the same person. The next mode of non-verbal communication is kinesthetic or body language. In common terminology, we use body language, but the technical term that we use is kinesthetic, which was introduced by Ralph Zelin in his extensive work on non-verbal communication. So, he was very much interested that how eye movements or oculesics, this study of eye movements is known as oculesics in psychology, and suggested that how eye contacts or movements indicate different kind of orientation, for example, affiliative orientation or information seeking device. For example, managers are conducting a meeting and maybe one manager needs some kind of approval from the other managers or employees or co-workers. Maybe he will look into the eyes of the other co-workers in order to seek approval or recognition of his idea or proposal. Or affiliative orientation, when person tries to seek some kind of affection through his or her eyes, which gives him some kind of sense of belongingness. So, kinesthetics involves emblems, effect displays, illustrators and adapters. So, this is something where eye plays a major role in transmitting the message in form of emotions, in form of affection or information seeking device, even the approval or anger. We can see anger in the eyes. For example, emblem. So, emblem was the first term used by David Ephraim, and emblems are nonverbal signals that can generally be translated directly into words and describe gestures that have very precise meaning known within an ethnic or cultural group. So, this is emblem is like body language, body movements, which is symbolic in nature and it varies from one culture to another, but in every particular culture those emblems in form of body movements can be understood. For example, okay, it is like this, or wait, or this is like call me. So, these are the emblems which we tend to understand from one culture to another, and in one culture, particular culture, we tend to understand without uttering a word that what these signals mean exactly. For example, beckoning with our finger, that means come here, or the thumb to index finger, that is okay. A wave, hello or goodbye, or a hand to ear, so please speak louder, or come here, beckoning hand movement. So, these are the kinesthetics or body movements where we tend to understand body movements where words are not there, but ultimately we understand the meaning of those signals. So, these are emblems, but the most important point about emblems is that these emblems vary from culture to culture. Some emblems are understood in one culture and maybe it has different meaning in the different cultures. Illustrators. These are the bodily movements that are directly tied to speech, serving to illustrate what is being said verbally to enhance receiver comprehension. For example, we nod our head when we say yes, and we shake our hands when we say no, and we shake our fist when we are angry. So, this is something illustrators that it is about verbal and non-verbal communication, that even two people are involved in some kind of communication. So, apart from verbal communication, they are also using their body movements in order to convey a strong message to the other person. So, it is something about that we do not agree, we will say no. So, no, we are speaking, at the same time we are crossing our hands. Other way may be that even if we shake our head, we say no, left to right, no, 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 or it can be yes, yes, yes. So, the other person is saying something, we are saying yes, and at the same time we are showing some another gesture of agreeableness to the other person, or even we will show our fist when we are angry, that I will see to you in next time. So, this is something illustrators where speech, that is verbal and non-verbal communication, goes hand in hand, but when non-verbal communication comes into play, then the message is more stronger for the other person. The other is effect displays. So, effect displays are non-verbal communication that expresses emotions or feelings. Effect displays are the movements of the facial muscles expressing the primary emotions, for example, happiness, surprise, fear, sadness, anger, disgust and interest. So, if something interesting proposal is there, maybe we will broaden our eyes. If we are angry, we will have a frowning expression on our face, our forehead will be frowned. These are the different kind of displays that most of the time conveys the emotion that what you feel. It can be fear also, that maybe your facial muscles become very stiff, very tensed. So, this is about fear. It is about angry when there is a frowning expression on your face. It is about happiness, maybe the eyes are dilated. This gives you a message that the other person is very happy to see me. So, effect displays are extremely informative and influential. Even without not uttering a word, if we see any person giving you any positive facial expression, that gives a very strong and influential message to your presence. Therefore, we can say that an effect display might accompany folding up your hand for silence, or two men threaten each other but do not fight openly, but through their facial muscles we can easily understand that two people are not in good talking terms. Therefore, affect displays can be altered or faked. So, one may appear one way when they feel another, that is smiling when sad. So, it is both the ways. If the true feelings are there, it will come on your face. Even if the person is hiding his or her emotions, then also the person can alter his facial muscles. So, you are sad but still you are smiling. So, nobody can understand what exactly is going inside an individual's heart and mind. So, it is about both positive, negative, and you want to conceal, you can conceal. If you want to reveal, we can reveal those affect or emotions. So, these are some pictorial representations of emblems, illustrators, adapters and eye contacts. These are, for example, Fight Club, Call Me. For idea we have this kind of gesture, then rock and roll, victory for V, call me, boxing, shakabara. These are some limited pictorial representation, but if we come in contact with different cultures, there will be different kind of displays. These are some more pictures about how to stop, good deal, photo. It can be this way also and it can be this way also, messages, direction, love. We have a different signs to display our heart, then okay, victory or party rock. So, there are n number of body movements to understand non-verbal communication. Okay. This is then adapter. An adapter is a body motion used by people to adapt or adjust to communication process that is occurring. So, it may be stress induced reaction such as person who is biting his nails, tap his or her foot or fingers or uses another repetitive body motion during the conversation. So, it is about maybe any person who is giving any presentation before the audiences, he is very nervous. So, maybe he will start rubbing his hands, folding his hands, maybe sometimes he has tight muscles, facial muscles, which shows that he is so much in stress and tension, or there can be some deep eyes which shows that he is in tension and at the same time he is experiencing anger. So, this is about adaptators, that how we adjust our body movements according to the situation. But as soon as we adjust our body movements, that expression is very much displayed in that body movement. This is something when you are in a very thoughtful mood, or you are in tension, you are biting nails or you are scratching your head. That means you are stressed and you are thinking a lot how to solve the problem. So, this is again adapters or affect displays or illustrators, that how we tend to transmit real message without uttering a word. Alright, that was kinesthetics or body movements. The next is proxemics, the use of space and distance to influence communication. How to understand the type of relationship two people maintain based on the distance they maintain between each other. So, Edward T. Hall was the first person to talk about proxemics in nonverbal communication, which is the study of how space and distance influence communication. So, proxemics uses distance metaphor to describe human relationships. If the relationship between two people is very intimate, there will be very less distance between two people. If it is extremely formal, for example, any leader who is addressing the mass, that distance is far from each other, maybe from 12 to 15 feet of distance is there. So, this is how human relationships can be understood based on proxemics, that is space and distance metaphor. Therefore, it deals with the amount of space we usually occupy or demonstrate during communication. So, Edward T. Hall has identified 4 zones to understand human relationships. So, what are those 4 zones? Intimate zone, personal zone, social zone and public zone. Intimate zone for embracing, touching, whispering. The distance is very less between two people. So, this intimate zone extends from 0 to just 18 inches. It is very less. So, touch is possible, you can whisper, you can touch or you can embrace the other person. Other is personal zone. For interactions among good friends or family, the zone extends from 1.5 to 5 feet. Maybe your neighbors, you are talking to each other, you exchange pleasantries and at the same time you know each other very well. So, this is about personal zone, where we have a personal neighborhood and we are interacting with these people. So, we are good friends and family at the same time. Social zones for interactions among acquaintances. So, this zone extends from 5 to 7 feet. For example, in any official meeting, we tend to meet each other every day at workplaces, and we tend to maintain a very formal distance when we are talking to our co-workers, or we are scheduling any meeting in a boardroom. So, there is a formal distance between the authority and the subordinates. So, it is about maybe 5 to 7 feet of distances there, and it is the public zone. I gave you the example of a leader, that how a leader is addressing the masses, maybe 500 people are there. So, that constitutes to public speaking, and the zone extends from 12 to 25 feet. So, this is how the relationship can be understood when two people are interacting with each other, and human relationships can be identified or understood based on this communication, that is space and distance. This is about proxemics. So, this is just a diagrammatic representation that how we tend to maintain distance in relationships. So, intimate zone is very small, personal zone is little bit extended, that is 1.5 to 5 feet, and yes, 5 to 7 feet is your social zone. So, that defines proxemics, right. This is some other pictures to just let you explain that how these zones are being identified. So, in the first picture where this man and women are there, we can think of that they are husband wife, and yes, this is an intimate zone. The second picture where there is a group of people in a room, it is a social zone. And the last, maybe it is a personal zone, we can say, where children from neighborhood are coming and playing all together. So, this represents how relationships are maintained based on space and distance between two people, right. So, this is about kinesthetics and proxemics we have discussed in terms of, and paralanguage in terms of nonverbal communication. The other factors we will discuss in the next session. Thank you so much.